Hi everyone, this is Eric from Bay Fiber Studio. I'm a professional fiber artist, and in this video I'm going to be talking about different kinds of waxes that you can use in your batik and tie-dye projects. The three main waxes that you will encounter are a paraffin wax, soy wax, and beeswax, and each of them has different specialties and different pros and cons that I'm going to be talking about today. I'm going to compare the three different waxes just in their pure blend today. And then I'm also going to be doing some blends of different waxes. So here on the right is a paraffin wax, in the middle is a soy wax, and on the left is beeswax. And that probably doesn't mean anything to you because they all look pretty much exactly the same. So these are the three waxes in their raw solid form, and these are the three matched up in their melted form. They're all actually basically at about the same temperature. So those are the three types, pros and cons of each. We'll start with the pros and cons of the one that I never use, which is paraffin wax.
And I realized I could probably lay out the differences between these waxes much faster here than having you stare at my hands for the next 4 minutes. So that's what I'm going to do. Paraffin wax, it is the traditional wax that batik artists use, but it's traditionally mixed with beeswax. Paraffin is very durable, but it's very brittle once it dries, so you'll get a lot of cracking in it if you don't add beeswax to it. That said, it does last a long time, and if you're doing multiple iterations and you want to get a lot of mileage out of your pieces, paraffin wax and beeswax together is a good way to go. However, it does melt at a very high temperature, and it will definitely burn you if it comes in contact with your skin. But once it gets above that temperature, it will start to put off some noxious fumes. So there are some health concerns to be aware of if you're going to be using it. It's also a petroleum product if that's something that matters to you. Soy wax, on the other hand, it melts at a very low temperature, which makes it very easy to use. And the ease of use is one of the best reasons to use soy wax. It melts at around 100, 110 degrees, which makes it great for beginners and also young hands. And it also comes out of the cloth very easily, so you can rinse it out in your sink or even in your washing machine. On the downside, because it is a lower temperature wax, it doesn't last as long. It's not quite as durable. And if you're doing multiple iterations, it helps to add a second layer of wax in order to preserve bright white colors. The way to get around that is adding a little bit of beeswax to your soy wax blend. And by doing so, you get more durability. It'll last longer, but it's still easy to use and easy to clean up. So those are the main differences between them, and now we're going to actually see them in action. So back to the video.
So those are the pros and cons of all three of the waxes. What I'm going to do now is I've got three wax melters going with those three pure waxes. I'm going to do up 5 pieces with the same design, and then I'm going to dye all 5 of them with the same dye bath and show you the differences in them. So these designs are not going to be anything particularly fancy. They're really just for demonstration purposes. So this is pure paraffin wax, and I will write on it. So let's do 100% soy wax. And you can see how much more that penetrated through there, even though these are at roughly the same temperature. And then our 100% beeswax. I'm just going to take this and write a B. So let's blend up now with some soy wax. These aren't perfect measurements, obviously, but I'm just going to do a kind of a rough guess here of a 3-to-1 measurement of soy and paraffin with beeswax. Soy and beeswax. And then let's see, I'm going to have another piece of fabric. All right, so that's it, 5 pieces. I'm going to mix up a dye bath. I'm going to crackle them all, and then we'll see how they look. Stay tuned. All right, so I got my dye bath and a small dye tray here set up. I didn't do any kind of chemicals in here. This is just demonstrations for the color sake. So we're really just seeing how the colors penetrate. So again, this is a beeswax piece. I'm going to just kind of roughly crumble each one a few times. So this is 100% beeswax. Here's a new teal blue color I got. I haven't really experimented with it much yet. This is, we'll do the pure ones first. This is the 100% soy wax. %, paraffin wax. You can hear that crackle. And then we'll do the blends. So this is your typical paraffin beeswax blend. And then my preferred soy wax beeswax blend. All right, so it's been about 20-30 minutes or so. They've all been soaking in here. I'm gonna get another bucket and so I can pull them out and put them in another bucket here without getting too much of a mess. Buckets are definitely one thing you accumulate a lot of when you do a lot of batik and fabric dyeing. So this is in reverse order from the way they went in. This is paraffin wax, beeswax. So this is the traditional blend of what you would normally see batik artists using. And I haven't obviously taken any of the wax out, but you can see how the crackle has formed. And this is where there were 2 layers of paraffin applied. This is where there's been a single layer of paraffin applied. And then just the designs there. So this is the soy wax beeswax blend. And you can see it's kind of similar to the paraffin wax blend, but there is slightly less marbling happening in this one. There are some cracks where the dye is penetrating through, but it's not quite as defined in the crackling that you would see in the paraffin blend. So all the pure wax blends. So this is the paraffin wax, and remember you could hear that one crackling, and you can really see, I mean, there's places where the wax is even flaked off here, and you got some really deep cracks. This is soy wax, I believe. You can definitely tell the difference between a single layer and a double layer here. So that's where you can really see, like, it's not, it doesn't give you quite as much resistance when you apply it to, especially in just a single layer. It definitely, if you're doing a soy wax and a pure soy wax, 2 layers is definitely better than 1. So this will definitely, there will be some blue or teal hue penetrating through here, but not a lot, and definitely with the second layer. So you can see here the difference in how adding just a little bit of beeswax to it makes it so that the dye doesn't penetrate as much. And then last but not least, here's the pure beeswax. And you can see there's very little marbling in it. Really the only place where you can see dye penetrating is where there are brush strokes that are overlapping, like right here between the single layer and double layer of the beeswax. But there's almost no marbling in this. And I definitely crackled it up. There are a few spots here where the dye is penetrating. But really, you can see the durability or the malleability that you get from having the beeswax as part of your wax blend. So I'm actually going to put them on top of this light tray now and shine light up through it, and hopefully it doesn't interfere too much with the camera, but the camera view is going to seem a little different. But what that'll do is when I put them on top here, you'll be able to see the marbling a little bit more without removing the wax. So this is the pure beeswax. You see there is some marbling, but very little marbling happening despite how much I crumbled that up. So that's your pure beeswax. The pure soy wax. You can see some good marbling happening as well where the dye is penetrated through there. Those will increase over time as if I were to do more iterations with this. The pure paraffin wax, you can see some really heavy cracks forming. So while the soy wax, there's definitely cracks. They're not as defined or as wide as they are in the paraffin wax, the pure paraffin wax. So you get that look a lot more. Let's see. This is the paraffin wax beeswax blend. And so I think that's right. Yeah, so there's a little bit less marbling. You can see, there's a lot of small cracks happening here, whereas there's less of that, definitely. But there are still definitely some cracks in the beeswax paraffin blend. And then last but not least, my preferred blend, but that's, again, it's just personal preference. And so then this is the soy beeswax blend. And you can tell it is slightly different, the marbling that you get. And granted, this is just a one-off shot, so the results may vary, of course. The marbling that I'll get is not always as defined as the marbling that you might get with a paraffin blend, but you still get that really nice texture that really is characteristic of batik work. So, these are just a couple of the different options you could go with in your batik practice. If you have any questions, please drop those questions and comments in the comment section below. I hope this has been informative for people that are interested in taking their dye practice. If you've done a lot of, if you did a lot of tie-dye over the past couple of years and you're thinking about what to do with your leftover tie-dye materials, give it a try. Give batik a try and see what you come up with. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe and leave a comment and a like.